Hey everybody, thank you for joining me for the Bible reading plan. Today we're in First Thessalonians, and this is a book that Paul wrote to the church of Thessalonica, which is the capital of the Roman Macedonia, if we hear of the Macedonian church. Paul, if you remember in Acts, went to Thessalonica in his second missionary journey, and because of the Jews, the pressure of the Jews there, and the threat on their lives, they had to flee. And in Thessalonica, it's a huge trading area, and there's a lot of export and import, but there's a lot of influence in that city and that place. And the thing about this church is that it's undergoing immense persecution. So Paul had to flee. He sent Timothy later in to that church when he couldn't go, and Timothy strengthened the new believers. And Paul is surprised to hear, he's happy to hear, he's pleased to hear that the church of Thessalonica is growing, and their faith is a faith that's getting around. You know, it is. They're flourishing, they're growing. Despite the persecution, they're sticking close to God. They're maturing in the faith and in who Jesus is. And we see that Paul is constantly mentioning them in their prayer in chapter 1. He says in verse, For we know, brothers, loved by God, that he has chosen you, because our gospel came to you not only in word, but also in power and in the Holy Spirit and with full conviction. He says, you know, the words that we spoke to you that were from God came with power. And those are the words that we want, right? The words that are fueled by the power of God, by the Holy Spirit. And I love this. In verse 8, he says, but your faith in God has gone forth everywhere. And I've asked this before, but I'll ask it again. Are you a person whose faith goes before them? Are you a person whose reputation is a reputation that Jesus would be pleased with? Are you a person whose reputation is that, man, that is a man or that's a woman of God? That's someone who's a prayer warrior. That's someone who will go to the ends of the earth for Jesus, for their faith, for Christ. And if it's not, then maybe we should assess our lives, assess how we live, assess how we're doing. Are we someone who's known for complaining? Does our complaining go before us? Does our complacency go before us? Does our laziness go before us? Do our hobbies, do our desires, do our pleasures of the world go before us? Is our people pleasing something that goes before us, or is our faith something that goes before us? But thank you for joining me in first chapter of First Thessalonians. I would think about that, because these are a people who are suffering great persecution, but their faith is going before them everywhere. So despite what you have going on in your life, whether that be persecution or whether that be immense comfort, maybe too much comfort, then I would ask you, assess what goes before you enter a room. Thank you for joining me in the Bible reading plan. I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye.